Saturday. Good evening, Bluebirds. Welcome to the phone-in of the greatest team in football the world has ever seen. Faith restored. We're a happy, smiley crowd tonight. So, this should be a very short show because we're not going to have too much to complain about. I think it's all going to be praise. But please join in the fan praise, comments, questions, feedback. You can do it via the usual channels. Tonight, we've got Mr. Away fan himself, Steve Thomas, travels home and away from far, always there.
Evening, everyone.
Guys, Steve. Al Worth is back. Al, how are you doing, Al?
Good evening. Welcome to the Cardiff City, not the moaning tonight, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was saying earlier.
It's not, the Cardiff City non-moaning.
For 6 years, I don't think I've ever come on with a smile on my face. So, good evening.
In a great. Hope it continues for a long time. And Steve Wiggins, of course, Wiggy, always got full of praise for Cardiff City and everything going on down there. So, and I'm sure he's here to bring more tonight. What are we going to do, Steve?
Yeah. Like we just said, it's great to see smiling faces and coming out of the ground as well on Saturday. Everyone laughing and joking. It's a tonic at the moment, which is great.
Yeah. Tell you what, when that winning goal went in on Saturday, I genuinely was bouncing for about 30 seconds, just jumping up and down, full of joy. Didn't have a care in the world. It was an absolutely amazing feeling because that's what City is about, isn't it? We know we have bad times following this club, but when the good times come, and these are relative good times at the moment, you just got to enjoy them. And just looking at everyone on Saturday, I thought it was just magnificent because even though we grabbed it late and, Norwich were a great team, really did play well for the most part of that game. City just hung in there, didn't they? And resilient and got their rewards in the end. And when it comes like that, and we saw it with Ipswich last season, Southampton last season, beaten 2-1. They both got promoted, mind. Could be a good sign for Norwich, you never know. But, is that the feeling where you were as well?
Yeah, most definitely, Norwich. In my corner where the Canton stand meets the Ninian stand, absolutely mad scenes. I think we all thought, oh, great, we got back, we got the equaliser in the 89th minute, take a point out of that. And then O'Dowda pops up and I was bouncing all the way back to my car. I always use far less petrol driving home. You say how far I drive. Far less petrol driving home because the car tends to float home. Despite all the detours, all the roadworks, I've floated home, used hardly any petrol.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything better than an injury time goal, boys. I don't know what you think. It's funny, when we scored to equalise, I was sat just in front of Gilo and Jeff Eckhart, and Jeff tapped me on the shoulder. He said, Wiggy, he said, you want to win this game, don't you? I said, no, I'll take a point. And then lo and behold, they went down and banged another one in. Brilliant.
I think the players, the players seemed like they sensed it. I certainly didn't sense it.
Yeah.
So I for one win, that was it. But it's interesting that when Robinson's goal went in, he chased the ball into the net, picked it up, and ran back. And whereas I was kind of thinking, oh, we'll just play for a draw now, because I was happy with it. The players were sensing it, and subsequently, I think now on social media, they're saying stuff like, we're 6 unbeaten, we're on a roll. You can feel it there amongst the players. They've got this confidence at the moment. And that's then obviously that's transmitting to us. I think in the stands, we felt it. And, we were with them all the way on Saturday, even 1-0 down. And even though Norwich, I think, were the better team, you just felt that there was. You can coming off the pitch, you can just feel that sense of positivity. For the first time in how long? I mean, it's. You've got to give it to Rizza, the job he's doing at the moment. You've got to put your hands up to the man.
Absolutely. Yeah, the buzz is back, isn't it? There is a buzz down there. And I think over the last season or two, people who go away have had a better experience than people who've been going to the home games down CCS, because even when we have been winning at home, they've not been entertaining to watch. They've been scrappy affairs, like the games we won 2-1 Ipswich, Southampton. We have played off the park for the most part of those games. We just won them late. And it's been such a dull watch at CCS, and to see them actually playing good football and getting positive results, it's just such a difference. And that's when 80-90% of the City fans do watch the club, isn't it? It's so it's been great for the people away, but it's nice to see the club entertaining us down at the home ground. We haven't felt that way for a long time.
Nice to get home afterwards and want to watch the highlights in the evening. The amount of times I get on thinking, I'll watch the Wheel. Sorry, and anything other than the highlights when I get in there now. What time's it on? I want to watch it.
Yeah. It's fantastic. So let's go back to the side on Saturday. How did you all feel when you saw the side with obviously NG was out? We knew he was suspended. Bit of a blow with Robertson, obviously, because I think he's been a dynamo and been a creative force in us, and he was missing. And we also had Callum Robinson on the bench. So when you saw Rinomhota come in at right back, who came into midfield, I can't remember at the moment, but we had Willock playing up front as well. How did you feel about that lineup when you saw that?
Well, Rinomhota was fantastic, wasn't he? I mean, he comes into the side. He's a player who a lot of us thought, I think, me included, is probably going to be on his way. He was loaned out to Rotherham last season, came back in, and one of the tackles he made in front of the Canton stand in the first half to stop a Norwich shot was absolutely fantastic. He was bombing up and down the wing. He was getting back. He was really putting a shift in. For some reason, the players seem to have, not just Rinomhota, but they all seem to have clicked a bit more. From the back, I mean, Jack Annett kept us in the game. A couple of the saves he made were absolutely phenomenal, and there was the block on the line by Gutas as well when the follow-up shot came in. Yeah. They scored the worldie, don't forget. I mean he scored 8 in the last 9 before that, and people made comments about Jack Annett perhaps not getting close to that shot. I don't think any goalkeeper was going to save that shot, but everybody hung in there. Everybody. To answer your question, Nigel, there were some concerns. So obviously our team was weakened. But they came through for us.
You've got to wonder whether or not Bullet had his favourites, or rather the people he didn't like. Rinomhota was nowhere near that squad, and then obviously let him go. Same way now he's let Wintle go. Were there just certain occasions, because the players have come out subsequently and said man management is really good. Now I'm wondering whether or not behind the scenes there was just certain players he didn't fancy and they were not going to get a look in. So for example, Wintle at the start of the season didn't even name him in the squad. Said you're not going to get a game on your way. Rinomhota, he was the last person I would have thought would have been brought into that side on the weekend. I thought Bagan would have come in on the other side, and again, it's down to the manager, and he's galvanised this same group of players, and he seems to have really galvanised them, and they're all putting in that shift. They've got that togetherness at the moment. Long may that continue.
Yeah.
We sort of we played without a centre forward, really, didn't we? The way the more the game went on, it was like Willock and Cole were sort of two false nines, I thought. And that listen, we won the game, and it's great to get 3 points. But the only thing we didn't do, I think, was get bodies in the box on quite a few occasions, especially when O'Dowda was bombing down the wing and the balls were flying in, and there was just one. Tanner was just in the box, and the others were just outside. But ultimately, we won the game, so we're not going to moan too much, are we? No.
No. To me, I felt certainly for the first hour, Norwich were probably up there with the best teams we've seen down here this season. They as well as we, and as hard as we were trying, we were doing our best just to hang in there, weren't we? And I know you mentioned Rinomhota, a couple of tackles. I think Callum Chambers got 2 or 3 blocks in as well. There were a few scrambles, weren't there? But that's the resilience in the team now. I think there is that togetherness and spirit that we weren't seeing a few weeks ago. And certainly when we went 1 down, heads would have been gone, wouldn't they? Until Wizards been in, it's changed things. They would never have wanted to hit back in the way that they did.
I did. We've had a few comments coming on Facebook if you want to read them.
Oh, yeah, please, Al.
Coming perhaps not thick and fast, but they're echoing what we're saying, but fantastic nonetheless. Richard Lewis, hiya Rich, he's long time. I was going to say long time listener, but he's not, isn't it? We're all sort of post-COVID. Basis for radio here. It's worth joining tonight, boys, just to see you all smiling. What a joy it's been to see the players playing for the full 90 minutes and not giving up, not knowing when we're beat. We're top of the form table for a reason. The stats don't lie. Omar Rizza deserves the job until at least the end of the season. Anthony Rivers, even gents, good point. Read the highlights, Steve. I've started taping them again. So, Max. Robert Flynn, boys, I haven't missed a home game in 20 years, and now I've missed 3 on the bounce because I'm in UHW having an operation that went wrong when I was told I was going to be on the international break. I told my missus I wouldn't miss the City game. Great results, but I bloody missed them. Hopefully I'll be there for Blackburn game if my missus would let me. Well, best luck with your recovery, Rob, and I'm sure you will be. Richard Lewis again. to Andy Rinomota, who played well, versatile, does a job, doesn't kick up a fuss when he's not picked. Great squad player. I hope he's retained. Echoed then by Mike McAndrew. Reno outstanding on Saturday. Callum O'Dowd was fantastic. Well, he's like a player reborn, isn't he? Paul Williams, nice to be winning games again. Perhaps that dreadful run of home results over 5 seasons is gone now. Nice print out of the City gates behind you. I stole that offline. Andy Rivers, I couldn't believe Reno's pace to recover in the second half. Overall, he was superb, dealt well with the dangerous winger. Richard, I don't think Ryan Wintle gets into this side if he comes back on loan from Millwall. I'd rather see Joel Colwell return and be given the chance. He scored 2, didn't he, Joel Colwell for I don't know if any of you saw his header.
No.
He did the diving header from sort of 10 yards. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really good.
Yeah.
Stewart, fantastic turnaround of late. Very enjoyable to watch. Joy of all joys. However, I see from corners and free kicks we've conceded of late that Rizza is another who doesn't favour leaving a player or two up on the halfway line and filling our area with all our players. It's a bugbear of mine, which I brought up previously. Do any even know why many teams do the same? Just us. The way we're playing at the moment, this could pay off big time. Johnny McCordy, Turnbull also wasn't considered by Bullet. And again, Norwich finished the game with 6 centre-halves to try and stop us. Who manages them? Mick McCarthy. I took a screenshot of O'Dowd's goal from ITV. There were 9 Norwich players in their own box when he scored, and that wasn't from a corner. So it was crazy. There we go. Cardiff City. Yeah.
It was almost the reverse of us at Bristol a few weeks ago, wasn't it? When we had the game in our hands, we could have gone on and killed it. We had the chances to have done it, and then Rizza, which earned him a lot of criticism at the time, and probably quite fairly, changed things far too easy. Invited Bristol onto us, and they got the equaliser. And it just felt that Norwich did the same thing. That apparently they ended the game with 7 defenders on the pitch.
Interesting what you said about Norwich, because once I watched O'Dowd's goal for probably about the 65th time, I did looking at the Norwich defenders, and the Norwich defenders' reaction. You know, they were punching the floor, they were screaming at each other, they were absolutely apoplectic that they let that goal in. But then I thought the number 33 at the back for Norwich was immense for 75 minutes. He stopped everything going into that box, and then when they brought Grant Hanley on, I thought, hang on a minute, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
He was really
been troubling them. That was the crazy thing. The pressure was building, and you could feel momentum there. We weren't hurting, and that keeper wasn't having to make saves. It just seemed he changed it far too early. And of course, I invited us onto him, and O'Dowd made the most of it, didn't he? Because he was suddenly able to advance and not really worry about having to track back, and the game transformed.
Of O'Dowd at the end of the game at Hull, which I was at, he came over and 2 people were at the front screaming abuse at him after he lost 4-1. And he came closer than any other players did, and he beat his chest. He beat his chest on the badge, and so showing I care, and he's really through, and he deserves all the plaudits he gets now, because he's been absolutely fantastic. The way the players have stood up for the club, and they're much more of a team now, much more of a unit. I think it's fantastic. The difference between that first game against Hull, and you've got to give him the benefit, Rizza, the benefit of the doubt there, because he inherited the team that was Bullets. He inherited the tactics that were Bullets. When he's put his own stamp on it, and he's not changed that much apart from looking forward more, I think he's doing much better.
I think the spine of the team, isn't it? People say, Alnwick there, even Gutas in front of him, they look so assured. I go back to when we were playing Swansea away, and Howarth in goals, how Varth in goals. I can remember every time the ball was going back to him, we were trying to do this silly pass across to his right or to his left. And every time that was happening, the Swansea fans were loving it, right? Because it looked like we were under pressure every single time. Now with Alnwick back in goals, there isn't that. You just feel confident with him there. I'm not saying for one moment that Howard's not a good goalkeeper, or perhaps people might disagree and say he's not a good goalkeeper. But Jack Alnwick, I mean, for all we're doing well up front, look at the amount of away at West Brom, he was phenomenal. I mean, the amount of crucial saves he's made, the amount of clean sheets that we've kept. I mean, that's not Cardiff City. Keeping clean sheets. It never has been Cardiff City. Gutas as well. Since we thought when Haaland was going out, we were thinking, hang on a second, this is going to be a problem. he's come in and he'd be one of the first on my team sheet at the moment. He's been absolutely immense. And then you've got a strong bench because all the other players, perhaps not so much up front. We haven't got as many options, obviously, but for the rest, going throughout the rest of the team, I think we look strong.
Well, Dowder was MOM. I think we probably all agree there. But a shout for Turnbull, who under Bullett's leadership, I didn't rate him at all. I mean, I know we only saw little cameos, but I think Turnbull without Robertson Saturday, I was a bit worried because I think those two together are really strong. But I'm not saying Siopsis didn't do bad, because he did okay. But I think Turnbull has been a bit of a revelation in that midfield, and sooner or later he's going to put one in the top corner as well, because he's got Elvis shot on him as well.
Yeah. He's got a good scoring record at Celtic. He used to take the set pieces. He used to take the set pieces for him. So he's good from distance.
But I think, as well as they're all doing in midfield, I think the difference between Bulletin now, I would have hated to have played in midfield under City, because when you used to look up, all you had in front of you was Kanga, wasn't it? It was there were no wide men because they were pulled back, and you had Kanga on its own. And now anyone playing in midfield, they got options left, right, in front. You got Colwell and Tanner sort of taking positions on one side. You've got the outlet with El Ghazi on the other. There's plenty of options there. So I think it really helps those midfield guys and brings out the talents that we all knew were there. I mean, I don't think there was any City fan who thought if you set them up to be on the front foot, you're going to get, you'll have up and down days, but you're going to get better results. And that's what we're seeing now.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
I think so. Did you see any of you see the interview though, Dowder on the pitch at the end of the game? It was on the Cardiff City World, saying it's the best regime he's played under at Cardiff City, and they know what the players think. I'm a little bit nervous. I've said in the comments the last few weeks, I'm a little bit nervous about giving him a deal. I'd rather we leave him as he is, just on a week by week contract, because as soon as we give managers a contract, I think it might be less of a chance with Rizza. But if you look at what's happened previously, we've given these managers contracts after they've had a reasonable start. Mick McCarthy had a good start, didn't he? So we got the
thing is, Steve, right? Rizza is under contract.
Yeah.
So he's got a job. It's not like he's going to walk. Well, people say, he could walk away, but walk away from a job that he was happy to do previously as assistant manager. So, I'm with you. I mean, I've got to say, if you were Vincent Tan, and the times his fingers have been burned by this exact scenario, right? I'm no fan of his whatsoever. But if I was him and it was my money, and this exact thing has happened before, you'd be going, hang on a second, they've told me this before, these people, just bonus him or something, just enough just to keep him where he is. Give him a couple of quid. You don't need to sign him for 2 years up like we did with McCarthy, right? And then have to pay him off. And similarly, with Bullet. And to be fair, there were a lot of us saying give Bullet a contract. He's going to be saying, well, I listened to all you lot. I gave Bullet a 2-year contract, and now look what's happened. So I can see it from his perspective.
Yeah. I've got some quotes here from Callum O'Dowda. It's a joy to play. It's more joyous in training. We're more together. We're more exciting going forward. I love playing in this team. The manager has changed everything. He was talking about Errol Bullet after a few games last season.
Well, I think you're right, Al. What you were saying there, and I would do exactly the same. The guy's contracted anyway, so I mean, offer him a win bonus every time you get a win, Rizza. We're going to give you X number of pounds, and just keep it like that for the time being. There's no reason to jump in and say there's a 2-year deal, is there? Because as you say, he's already contracted and he's doing a great job. So the players love playing for him. You can see that, which is, I think you've got to have faith in the manager, and I think a lot of our players had lost faith in the previous manager, and that was our predicament there. But now they're playing with a smile on their face. So just offer him a win bonus every game. We'll keep it like this till Christmas, and then review it at Christmas. And then it's just a joy to see.
Yeah, it sounds really hard nosed, okay? But he's only doing what he's paid to do, right? This is what he's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to win games, okay? When he was assistant manager, he's paid to win games, okay? You don't need to reward someone who's doing their job correctly by saying, oh, here we are, now we'll give you another 2 years, right? Fair enough, all right? in different scenario, if he turned around to us and said, well, I'm leaving, and he actually was going to leave, and it wasn't just agent talk, then you want to tie him down. But at the moment, if he's in a position where he was going to stay as assistant manager for a couple of years anyway, give him to the end of the season as he is, and then reward him in the meantime.
But do you think, Steve Thomas, do you think we need to do something before January? Because we've got, I think, 5 of the team who played on Saturday are out of contract at the end of this season.
Yeah.
And then obviously we're going to have to look to make a few changes in the January window. Ideally, I suppose we need a striker at least, possibly a bit of strengthening elsewhere. So do you think it's important that we've got a permanent manager by that time? Because so the players, when we're dealing with whoever, whatever's going on, need to know what's going on with the manager.
Yeah, to pick up on Al's point as well, as you say, Rizza is already under a contract. Let's give him some sort of bonus system. Let's keep him there. An interesting thing, watching the highlights, I was so keen to watch on Saturday. At the end of it, the interviewer asked him what his position was, and he said he'd had some very positive talks with the hierarchy. So hopefully that will mean that they will be doing something. But yeah, I don't want someone like. I think if we bring Bilic in, Bilic is a bigger name, but he'll want his backroom staff as well. And also, he is very negative. A lot of the teams he's managed before, he's been criticised by their fans for being so negative. But again, another thing I like about Riz, a lot that I like about him, is that he seems to say how it is after the games, however we've done. And previous managers, you see them interviewed after a game, and you think, have you been watching the same game as me? Because we've been slaughtered, and we've been dead lucky to lose 3 or 4-0, whatever. But Rizza seems to tell it the way it is. Even when he was standing in for Bullet, when Bullet was in the stand, his analysis of the game after, yes, that's the game I've watched as well. We didn't do very well, and there are a lot of things we can do a lot better. So I like the way he speaks as well. He comes over as very eloquent, very articulate, and I like that. I like what I'm seeing with him, and I'd like to stick with him. And if I answer your original question, yes, I would like to see it sorted well before January. But it sort of drags on. We'll give him till this international break. Oh, now we'll give him to the next international break. Oh, we played some easier teams in Millwall and Portsmouth and Plymouth. Now we've got a tougher run. What more has he got to do? He's got 14 points from the 7 games he's been in charge. That's promotion form.
Yeah.
Do we still need a centre forward?
Well, I noticed Keona Tete returned to the reserves today, and if you haven't seen it yet, he scored a fantastic headed goal.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, saw that.
I think the Wurzels 4-1 as well. So
I think we've got to be careful with January, because if Caldwell carries on the way he's going, there's going to be interest. There's bound to be. So we've got to be careful and keep the squad. Always think that we might have to add to it. Recall people. I mentioned Joel Caldwell. I think he scored 4 or 5 so far for Cheltenham. So we've got to be mindful of not. Don't think that these players, just because they're in a good team at the moment, won't go, because they will. McGuinness's pay, apparently, when he went to Luton, it's not gone well for him, but his pay skyrocketed just by moving. And at the end of the day, it's a short career. They'll leave if they're doing well. We know this. So we've got to be really kind of. I don't buy into, or just because we're doing well, all the players will stay. I don't think that's the way football works. Just make sure that, keep their feet on the ground, obviously, but make sure that we're going to keep them as much as possible, but always think of expect the worst, put it that way. And I always do.
What did you think of Rubin on Saturday? As much as he's played really well, I thought he looked a bit leggy on Saturday, but I mean, he's been a revelation in there, and it's just great to see him playing where he should always have played, in the middle there as a 10. But
he played much better towards the last 15 minutes. Once Norwich basically made those changes and invited us onto them, he seemed to do so much better. Let's pick up on Al's point as well. I was disappointed that I thought we were letting our best centre back go in Mark McGuinness going. Now, if he were to come back, I don't think he'd get in ahead of the 2 now.
Good points.
Yeah, and then you've got Darland who looks, a star in the making, doesn't he? And yet at the moment he's not going to get into the side.
Yeah, and actually, Darland coming on Saturday showed that. Rizza, sorry, I said Bullet. Then apologies. Rizza's got a plan B. Brings on three centre backs, enabling O'Dowda and Ollie Tanner to push more forward. I mean, that turned out to be a genius move, that, didn't it? In the end.
Yeah.
I hesitate, right? I hesitate to say language barriers, okay? But towards the latter part of his tenure with us, I didn't understand what Bullet was talking about in his press conferences.
No.
It was just rubbish. It was just, there was no structure at all to what he was saying. And I was sitting back thinking, right, what did he just say? He said a lot without saying anything. And going back to what you're saying about Rizza being eloquent, articulate, he put something up on LinkedIn before he disabled all his social media, didn't he? He put something up on LinkedIn saying, I've worked hard to get what I am. I've really earned my badges. He's not a superstar, okay? He's gone right the way through the coaching thing. And he said, I've arrived now where I believe I should be. So he's hungry, all right? He's hungry for this. Yeah. You bring in Bilic, right? He's not interested. He's just after payday. Let's be honest. He's a Mick McCarthy, isn't he? Oh, I've got another job. That's really good. This guy wants to build. This guy wants to build something.
He does.
I thought it interesting going through that. No matter what's happened, Tom Ramosset has always managed to stay in position. So obviously he must have something. Because I was thinking when they got rid of all the coaching staff previously, Ramosset is still the last man standing. But it's happened again, hasn't it? I mean, so obviously he must be well regarded at the club.
And maybe a shout for Darren Pearce as well. Sorry, Nigel, I was going to say a shout for Darren Pearce, who, I mean, you know, we touched on it earlier. We haven't let many goals in. Well, he's on the sideline. I'd imagine he's calling a lot of the defensive shots. And
I know people who know that.
We made that comment.
I was going to say, I know people who know Darren Pearce because, sorry, Pearce lives by Steve myself in Barry, so he's quite regular on the Barry scene at the moment. But
you know what was interesting, Nigel? Sorry, I'll share it in a minute. What was interesting, right in front of us, and talking about Darren Pearce, right in front of us before the kickoff, the back four always do a little training session with the first team coach or whoever. So he'll kick the ball to them, head it back, do moves and so on. Darren Pearce was joining in because he's a footballer and he still can play football. It reminded me back to the Warnock days, right, where they used to have Kevin Blackwell, right, just kicking a ball to them, but he couldn't kick it straight to the defenders. So the defenders are having this warm-up where the ball is going over their head to the left, to the right. Pearce was he was bringing it down. He was playing, you know, all that sort of thing. I think if you're a footballer like them, if you've got a coach who can actually join in, it makes a big difference rather than having someone like McCarthy who can't play football.
Yeah. I was just going to say on Pearce, you got to remember now, these guys have been he's been doing an upgraded role for quite a few weeks, and I know he's loving it. So I think if he wanted to rock the boat and bring in another manager, and he would have to step back to the development team, it would feel such a retro thing for him to do. And I know he feels now that this is where he should be involved with the first team. And I think it's Matthew Blocks who was taking on the development team, and they've continued on their winning ways as well. It's even positive at that level, isn't it? So, I would hope something gets sorted out quickly. Maybe not now, but I don't think any City fan would like to see another manager come in at this stage, whether it's Bilic or anyone else, because we feel we've got something happening now. We've got progression, forward movement, and
we stumbled across
rock the boat again, wouldn't you, for bringing someone else now?
A decent manager almost completely by accident. But like Ipswich were monitoring Kieran McKenna for 2 or 3 seasons before he came in. Who's Kieran McKenna? I'd never heard of him. And all of a sudden he's taken up 2 leagues because he was the sort of manager that he wanted. But obviously Rizza's come in and he's done something. He's done something that we've all been screaming for so long. How come we've been able to see these things? And perhaps Rizza's listening to the Cardiff City phone in. Perhaps he's reading the message boards. Perhaps he understands what we want as well. So, you know, we should be taking a cut out of this.
Apparently he does read the socials, and he's taken off some socials himself, but he does read what goes on there. So hello Rizza. we do like your sweatshirts from the club shop.
That hoodie on Saturday, that was quality.
Yeah. You must go in that shop before the game and new sweatshirt, chuck it in.
I think another comment's come in, right, which I think is fantastic, and Richard Davis, who we all know well.
Yeah, Rich.
I like all this, right, because I'm an old romantic when it comes to ex-City players. And he said, shout out to Gavin Ward for Super Jack's clean sheets. Of course, Gavin Ward almost unnoticeably has come in and is goalkeeper coach. And then for those, so we've got Gavin Ward there, we've got Darren Pearce behind the scenes. Yeah, it's that little bit of connection that we all sort of crave for, don't we? Richard Lewis then said something, another local player. There we go. Aaron Ramsey, where does he fit into this?
Well,
But they're nice problems to have, aren't they?
to answer that one, Al, I mean, he'd have to fight very hard to get a place in that team at the moment, wouldn't he? I mean, you can't take Ruben out of that 10 role. No way. Exactly. He's got to be in there. Does everyone else?
I'd appoint Ramsey as Riz's number 2. There we go.
Good call.
I think we've got a team that picks itself at the moment, really, particularly in midfield. Turnbull, Colwell, and Robertson. They are the 3, and everybody else at the moment has frankly got to be their understudies. They've got to be waiting for injuries or suspensions to come in, because at the moment, you had to make the changes for Saturday because of NG being suspended, Robertson being injured, and the tweak that Robinson was feeling. So we had to make those changes. But the games before that, he was picking the same 11.
Yeah.
So there we
what's the news on Robertson? Is he got a bad knock, Robertson? Sorry, Al.
It was just a tight hamstring, he said, so he didn't risk it.
So it's interesting, Steve, isn't it? You've got Robertson, Turnbull, and Colwell, or you could have Ramsey, Rolls, and Wintle. The difference is like night and day, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we just go back through Saturday's game very briefly, let's talk about the Norwich, because I thought they were excellent first half, but that goal that Borja Stein scored for him, what did you think of that?
Well, it was a woolly. It was just. I think it was just unfortunate that. I think it was Turnbull that chipped the ball in for Colwell, but I was shouting because he did. Unfortunately, he didn't move towards the ball, and the Norwich fella to nip in, and I mean, but when that kid had the ball, I mean, he shot from out the ground. It flew in the top corner, isn't it? The only slight criticism I'm going to chip in, and I'll probably get collared for it, is I thought Gutas could have maybe jumped in, and I mean, all the defenders do this, don't they? They sort of back off a little bit, but I thought he could have got a bit closer. But I mean, it was a hell of a strike, and no one's going to save that. You put 2 keepers in there. That's a good goal.
Yeah. If we had a striker like that, we would. I'd be putting my house on us going up. Not that I'm a betting man, but I'd be putting some serious money on that, because if we had a decent striker like that, who is always looking to come forward, and again, the run he made where Anak made the save, where this unfortunately didn't go with him. I saw it when I saw the highlights again. When the ball got played through, he played a 1-2, and Siopis was moving towards the ball. He went to the right, and thankfully Jack Anak made a fantastic save. But I thought the first 75 minutes, number 33 at the back was absolutely immense. They've got a quality striker there, and really, I thought, it's been a good performance. We're still clapping off the pitch, having lost the game, but to keep going the way we did, and to keep in the game, I thought was an absolutely tremendous performance, and a tremendous change to what we've been used to seeing. In fact, if we let a goal in before, we thought, I might as well get back on the M4 early, because there's no point in me staying, because we're not going to score. We could be here all night. We're not going to score. That's not the feeling now.
No, absolutely. And I think one of the things I've think back a few weeks, we were all very quick to sort of criticise and comment that the players didn't seem fit enough. That they did fade at the end, didn't they? And didn't last 90 minutes. And I think what they've shown now, particularly the last week, they were under the cosh at West Brom the week before last, and just made sure that they didn't concede anything, didn't they? We never really looked like scoring there, although we did have 2 or 3 good chances, and Willock really should have taken that one right at the end. But we are looking at a team now that can play for 90 minutes, and those players are doing it. Look at Colwell. People were saying a few weeks ago he couldn't do a 60. He's a 90-minute man every game now.
Yeah.
You wonder if there's going to be other players coming back in. I think of Isaac Davis.
Yes.
If he sees players like Colwell, other youngsters who have been given their chance and are enthusiastic playing under Rizza, you just wonder whether players like him will come back in, and he'll be a completely different beast, won't he? There are other players waiting. People like Isaac waiting to come back in. I'd be excited to see him perform in this team, as an impact player come off the bench.
Yeah.
And certainly, bring some speed. It's something we've never had, Yeah,
another thing about Isaac, he did particularly well in the cup game against Leeds, with a team that tries to play it out at the back. So many more teams now do try to play it out from the back. So Isaac's very good at pressing, what I've seen of him, but he's kind of been wasted the sort of teams he's been played against before. I think I agree with Al entirely. He's going to be a great impact player to come off the bench, but at the moment he's not getting that side unless somebody's injured.
Richard Lewis has been a great
talking of impact players, let's talk about Callum Robinson, because he came off the bench, and I felt that that's really what switched Cardiff into gear, as much as Bristol, Norwich making those defensive changes, and obviously he got the equalisers. So, and I was looking at the goal scoring charts. There's only 4 players in the Championship now who've scored more than Callum Robinson this season, and they've all played 90 minutes a couple more times than he has. Because half his appearances have been cameos off the bench. So, yeah. Callum Robinson is making a huge difference to us at the moment, isn't he? And he seems like a player reborn, because I think last season I wasn't sure if he really wanted to be here anymore. He was giving me that impression at times.
You look at the amount of Norwich players he had around him when he managed to get that shot off. And yes, it was deflected in, but he got the shot off. He had so many players closing him down, yet he still got the shot off. He had very little room. He's a very, very good player if he's played in the right position. And last season, we had him, and we had Carlin Grant in as well, who've been tremendous playing together at West Brom, but they didn't seem to ever click.
That's interesting. I can remember there was an interview with Robinson after one of the games in Austria, and he said, Cardiff City fans will now see the real me. I'm going to be there for the blah blah blah. And then he comes back and Bullet doesn't play him. So from his perspective, he's thinking, what's going on? What have I got to do to get as a regular in this team? There's a couple of comments coming in here. Richard Lewis has said, would anyone have any objections if Kanga's loan deal is cancelled in January? With
Ryan Short provider would.
And now there we are. I think the guys just come up in front of me somehow. I don't know how this has happened. Etete back in the squad. Isaac Davis still to return. I think with Robinson, that could be enough up front, and Etete maybe even be able to flourish. Mike McAndrew makes a good point. Kean Ashford did a good job when he came off the bench. We haven't mentioned, but it's got to reinforce what we're saying about young players. Give them a chance, and they've got something to prove. Johnny Mordecai, Kanga needs to go back. Possibly recall Simic. Simic isn't getting games for KVK, and I'd like to see what Simic can do. Send them watch Simic to start for them. Richard Davis, our pressing over the past 6 games has been superb with the movement of the midfield and wide players. Get a goal scoring centre forward in, and we'll be top 6 by May. Okay. Go on, Rich. Neil Smith, Ramsey still may have a big part to play. Bring him on late in the game to see the game out with his vast experience. And Richard again, Callum Robinson already beaten his goal tally for the whole of last season with 5 so far this year. He's been excellent, Robbo, my favourite player in the squad. He too is playing with a smile on his face and had a good pre-season. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I think NG was joint top goal scorer with 5 or 6 this season, wasn't he? We never get a player with 15 since what I can't remember the last one. Kiefer would probably be the last one, wouldn't he?
Yeah, for Kiefer. And that was the season none of us could go down and watch him.
No. Robinson's playing with an Achilles strain, isn't he? So I read. Is that right?
Yeah.
So fair play to him, and when he, like you said earlier, Steve, when he scored on Saturday, he grabbed the ball and he sensed a winner, didn't he? So the change in that man alone, I just think the flair players are down tools with Bullet because they were being asked to do things that were a bit alien to them, chase back, and when they're on the pitch to put the ball in the net and create, and I think that's a big cause for all the smiles on the pitch as well. They're doing things that they want to do. The creative players are creating and we're scoring goals, which is brilliant.
I had to laugh with the Robinson goal because it deflected in off Shane Duffy, didn't it? He must hate coming down here because he scored those 2 own goals, had the red card in the one game a couple of years ago. First half, he missed the freest of headers, didn't he? Centre a goal and he nearly sent towards the corner flag as well. So he can't enjoy coming down here.
Yeah. They're a good team, Norwich. I was impressed with the first 5 yards. They were so nippy up front, and they won't be far away. I'll be amazed. And don't forget they were missing that sergeant up front as well on Saturday as well. So they won't be
the best
far
striker in the Championship. Him, I think he's a quality striker. But I think I can't see that signs being there when we play Norwich later this season. I think he'll be gone to the Premier League in Jan.
Yeah,
he looks nailed on to me.
We got them last game of the season, haven't we? 12:30 on.
We have, that's the one that gets us in the playoffs.
That's
all up to Norwich.
Yeah, pitch invasion at Carrow Road. Yeah, looking forward to it.
I always remember
It's
them
always
bringing
been
more
Canaries.
fans than they did. I always remember them bringing more fans than they did on Saturday. In the back of my head, I always remember they seemed to have a better away following. They brought 1,500 on Saturday. And historically, I always seem to remember them having more. They were one of the first clubs I can ever remember. When we were at Ninian Park, it was the first time I'd seen away fans walking around freely in their replica kits before the game. Because at Ninian Park, you never saw an away fan, did you? You just didn't. They just weren't around the place. And I can remember Norwich. They brought so many down. They were everywhere. It was an interesting thing to see at the time. But I perhaps I'm reading it wrong, but I didn't think that they created the atmosphere that they have done in previous years.
No.
Actually,
Lewis is just on, I just mentioned Sargent. Lewis Watts on YouTube reckons he's out for the rest of the season. Blimey,
wow.
That's a loss for them. Oh, yeah.
I think actually, your point, Alan. I think Carrow Road has one of the best atmospheres of any away ground. I think my favourite away grounds for atmosphere are Bramall Lane and Carrow Road, because the fans there always create such a great noise. And again, we were in the Lansdowne before the game on Saturday, and there were some really nice Norwich fans in there. They were speaking very pleasantly to us. One of them was saying, that they booked to go to Cardiff earlier on in the season, thinking that we were going to be the whipping boys of the league. And he said, "Now you're picked up." He said, "I'll be glad to get out of here anything." And another fella said, "I'll be happy walking away with a draw today." So they were quite they were quite respectful and almost fearful towards us. And a decent bunch. I look forward to seeing them up in Norfolk at the end of the season.
Haven't they got one of the biggest?
Typical. Norwich away is the typical "Are we there yet, Dad?" It was just a bloody night to get to. I just hate to go in there. Really.
Wherever you go to Norwich from, it's a long way.
Oh, it's a swine of a ground that is to get to. But haven't they got one of the biggest season ticket take-ups in the whole league? I think they have. Yeah.
I always think a club like Norwich is, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, there's just not much else to do in that area, is it? It's not like Cardiff. They haven't got cricket. They haven't got rugby. They haven't got boxing. They got farming. But, I think Norwich is more of the pivotal community centre of that area than even Cardiff is to Wales. It's because there's so many options and so many different things to do here. Norwich is the football club and a mustard factory.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing. Now I didn't want to be disrespectful.
I know. Tried not to be. So, moving on from just that fantastic win on Saturday, we got 2 games coming up this week now. Another 2 big tests, because we've obviously passed the West Brom and now we passed the Norwich one. Third one, it feels like should be a winnable game, because for once we're playing a team lower in the league than us, but it is Luton who we're Premier League. They are struggling this season. They've picked up a little bit recently. How do we feel about that contest?
Well, I think going into any game at the moment is a feel-good factor. There's a bounce in the player's step. I'm very much looking forward to Wednesday, and I very much think we can get some. We can definitely come away with something. I'll be a little bit disappointed now not to get 3 points again. So I want to keep that momentum going.
Al?
Yeah, it'd be nice to get the win. Even a point though, Steve. I think Luton at home, they're a bit of a. I watched the game. I think it was last Friday night they were on, weren't they? And the crowd were on their back. I think if we can get at them the first half and nick the first goals, it's always important in those games, isn't it? Don't you think? I don't know what you think.
Well, unbelievably, Rob Edwards is getting a hard time there at the moment.
Yeah,
you can't believe it. I mean, look, they're not a Premier League club, but I can't ever see him going back up. But what he did to them for them was nothing short of miraculous. And then all of a sudden, they are struggling, but they're finding their level probably. And all of a sudden, all their fans are on his back. So it'd be a good place to go to get an early goal and then sort of shut up shop, because I think their team would be under a lot of pressure. I understand that they played. I don't know if West Brom played badly because they've drawn the last 5, haven't they? But I understand that they kind of could put West Brom to the sword on Friday night. They're still a quality team. I don't think we go anywhere expecting to win, do we?
No.
But if we can get, for me, 4 points in the next 2 games, and I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, from what I'm seeing and hearing, I think they've gone quite Route 1 this season. And they've got Adebayo, haven't they? And they've got who's the other guy?
Morris,
Yeah,
centre forward.
Yeah. So, and literally everything is just thrown up for those two guys. Alfie Doughty, he was on loan with us a couple of years ago, wasn't he? He did all right, but he seems to have gone another level since he's gone to Luton and moved up to the Premier League. So they obviously got good players. And McGuinness, I think everyone is saying he's struggling there. He really is. Doesn't seem settled at all at the moment. So, which should be encouraging for us, hopefully, this week.
I think Luton, like a lot of teams, if you look at the players they've got, there's some real quality in their team, but it's just a question of them gelling together. We've always said at the start tonight, we've always looked at our squad and say at the start of the season we've got some really good players, and if they just get gel together, then we'll do fine. Luton are the same. If you look at Luton's team, most of them, obviously, stating the obvious, were in the Premier League last season, and they made a good fist of it. So they're going to be no pushovers, but I stand by my comment. The run we're on at the moment, I'll be disappointed not to get something out of Wednesday.
Yeah, and you'll be there, Steve.
I will be there, yes.
And you're going as well, Al.
I'm going as well. Must be mad.
Fantastic.
No, it's just strange, isn't it? It's like I was saying earlier. The days of booking afternoons off work, like the last couple of seasons, I'm just like, oh, you're joking, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Especially with get it on TV and so on and so forth. But I was all over it, Oh yeah, because we're on this run, and I guarantee if we we get 4 points the next two games, the next away game everyone's going to be exactly the same. And those coaches away, I understand Coventry away already with a lot of the independent travellers. At least the coaches are filling up straight away. And then as soon as you hear, it's that feel good factor, isn't it? You hear some of your mates are going, and then you don't. It's that fear of missing out, then, isn't it? Everyone wants to go.
Yeah. I think if every ticket for Wednesday has restricted view printed on it, though, I'd rather go and have a restricted view there than watch on the television. It's I've got to be there.
Yeah,
it's a shocking ground mind, isn't it, Luke? They've like little bits bolted on everywhere you look on the ground. There's an extra little bit. I remember going back in the 70s where they had Eric Morecambe, and that was there. Was it Eric Morecambe?
Yeah, it was Eric Morecambe.
Yeah, that's right. The comedian, and they had those boxes up on the. But now there's little bits in the corner that you can, they managed to get a few more fans in, but it's a tiny little ground. I think that the away exit is through a house, isn't it, Steve? You go through a.
Yeah.
You all the washing on the line and stuff.
Literally, you go path between people's back gardens to get in there.
Yeah. The last time we went there, it was just before, or not long before lockdown. And we thought this coronavirus thing wasn't real. I can remember being there, and I can remember there was some of our fans were drinking bottles of Corona and thought it was really funny that they were going to catch this virus. There you go. Tomlin scored. Tomlin scored about the 81st minute. We won 1-0. He scored with a free kick. That was a good away day. I mean, but if we can get something like that again, Blackburn aren't doing as well as they have done in previous seasons. So I think they might well be. Look, we're talking as though. The thing is, we win both these games. This is me now. We're not far off, are we? I've already counted up how many points we are. We're on 15. You got 6. There you go.
I think if you look at the next 5, is it the next 5 games? On paper, they all look winnable. You would think we'd get at least a double figure points haul from them, but that's where optimism has just come into it that we didn't have 5 weeks ago. It's optimism now, isn't it?
It's nice to be looking up towards the playoffs, not just looking at the next 2 or 3 teams to get out of the bottom 3.
Well, funny enough, I looked at the table Saturday night, and it was the first time I thought, I'm looking at 3 or 4 clubs below us. I can't see getting in front of us again. Obviously, Pompey and Plymouth felt like 2 of them. QPR, I'm not sure are going to really pull up trees. And I feel Oxford seemed to be dropping like a stone now, didn't they? They had that decent start of the season, and that I don't think they've won for 9 or 10 games now. And you just feel like they lost at home to Swansea. I mean, they've gone rotten, haven't they?
I know. I was banking on Mark Harris to put one on him. I thought Mark Harris he owed them something, didn't he? I couldn't believe that, to be honest with you. But,
But I think we got 15 points, and I think 4 or 5 teams above us have got the same points as us. I think we're still suffering from the 5-0 defeat at Burnley to hit our goal difference. But if you look at it, somebody did say, yes, we're now 5 points clear at the bottom 3, but we're now 6 points off the playoffs. I remember being at Hull and the early result came up, and I said, bearing in mind how early it was in the season, we're not even going to get out of the bottom 3 if we win. Hull, and of course we didn't, and we were kind of stranded. But now it's say the feel good factor, as you said, is obviously we've gone on for 49 minutes now, but I thought it was going to be a very short show because to moan about.
We've had greetings from Steve. We've had greetings from Steve Johnson in Portugal.
Yes,
He's obviously got the admin privileges because he's commenting as if he is the phone in. And also Steve Hutchins from Denmark as well, who's said hello. I wonder if he'll get the dreaded Manager of the Month award.
Yeah.
Well, Sunderland are going to get the last month. Have they announced it yet? They haven't, have they?
I don't know.
The Sunderland manager had more points than Rizzo last month, but I'm sure it'll go to Sunderland, which is good news.
I was going to say, aren't we above Sunderland in the form table? Someone put the form table up, and we were above Sunderland and Leeds. It's unbelievable, really.
Yeah. So is it in 2 weeks' time? I think 2 or 3 weeks' time. Sky then announced the next block of fixtures for what times they're kicking off. So we knew this time, didn't we? I think we knew 3 months worth, whatever it was. So because we were looking to some matches into January when they were going to be kicking off. Got in touch with the club, and the club said, "Oh, we don't know, but it's going to be the middle of November." And then obviously we can start planning again these victorious away days. Hoping they're not going to be sort of ridiculous, because there's going to be so many 12:30 kickoffs, aren't there? This is the difficulty, which we all hate.
Because I missed the Leeds game because I was away, but Saturday for me was the first 3 p.m. Saturday home kickoff I've missed this season. I think
Leeds and Saturday have been the only 3 p.m.s. All the others have been 12:30, and this Saturday is 12:30 again, isn't it? I don't know if you're the same as me. I really enjoy a 3 p.m. because you can go out, meet your pals before the game, have a drink, go to the game. 12:30 is just a rush, isn't it? Of course, City fans will go down to the pub early and have a drink and a chat, but it's just not the same for me. And I do wonder if it's affecting the crowds as well.
I can be home for 6 o'clock if it's a 12:30 kickoff. If it's 3 o'clock kickoff, I don't get home till 9:30, 9:15. It's a bit different for me.
Yeah.
So the last 4 home wins have come in 31 days. It took 18 games to have 4 wins before that, which took 10 months. So that is showing how things are starting to happen at home. And if we beat Blackburn on the weekend, 5 home wins on the bounce, I can't remember the last time we've done that. It must be several years. Not even in a promotion season, I don't think we managed that.
Richard Davis will know. I guarantee it.
Come on, Rich.
Talking about, I've not felt like I felt off the Plymouth home game for many, many years. To see us actually beat a team so comprehensively as we did, and look like, we scored 5, it could have been 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It could have been anything. Every time we came forward, we looked like scoring. When was the last time we can say that?
There's a swagger, isn't it? And there's entertainment. That the players are being allowed to express themselves. And I felt Bullock deserved the chance this season. Didn't turn out right, obviously, but those players were so confined and restricted in what they could do. And think back to the Ollie Tanner thing, where he wouldn't encourage him to go forward. He was more concerned about him tracking back and defending, wasn't he? And now they're playing with freedom. And I think Colwill helps, doesn't he? Because he's roaming all over the pitch, and which is pulling defences apart. And we're just a different proposition to play against. Yeah, but the players must love what they're doing at the moment.
One thing we haven't mentioned as well is El Ghazi. He seems to get better every game as well. Obviously, he'd been out of the game for quite some time after he left Mainz, but now he seems to be coming more and more up to speed, and definitely worth his place. He's definitely got something about him. The goal he scored against Plymouth, I thought he was lucky he was only a yard out, because he put it into the roof of the net. Had he been any further back, he'd put it over. But I think he's coming on. He's improving every game.
Yeah, I do wonder if he's going to get 3 games in this week, because he's played a lot of football, hasn't he, recently, for someone who... And I think that's the only thing I'm a little bit worried about with City, is when they're playing these 3 games in a week. And we have been using, by and large, the same 11. If we didn't have those players suspended and injured at the weekend, he would have chosen the same 11 again, I'm sure about that. So it does worry me a little bit that we probably don't use we haven't got a big enough bench still to really change things enough. But with players coming back into it, hopefully that will make a difference shortly.
Yeah.
Would you bring back any of the loanies, any of the
Good
people
question.
on loan? They were thinking about that, Nige. Like your Joe Colwells, or would you bring them back in?
Well, the question I was also thinking is, the 3 players are out at the weekend. Do you bring them back in on Wednesday if available and fit? Now, would you bring back NG for Rinomhota on Wednesday?
Yes.
I think he will.
I totally would.
Much as I thought Rinomhota was close to man of the match on Saturday, he wasn't man of the match, but he was close to it. It's one of probably the best game I've seen him have for us.
Yeah,
I would still bring Perry NG back in.
Yeah.
And didn't Siopsis tweak his hamstring at the back end of the game? So if Robertson's available, I'd imagine Robertson goes back in there.
That was Siopsis' best game of the season as well, wasn't it?
Did okay.
Saturday. He did. He's never going to be perfect, is he? He's never going to be the best passer of the ball, but he put himself about to close play down. I'd love to see the running stats for Siopis that he puts in a game, because it must be more than any other player on the pitch. But yeah, it was actually coming together. I think that game he had for Greece against England has just brought him the confidence back. Oh, there you are. 94% completed passes. I was wrong.
He's still got 6%.
I think an interesting point. All the players, obviously, they've all coming out. They've obviously all decided that they're going to come out in support of Riza as well. So in the press in the last week, Alnwick's come out, Robinson's come out, O'Dowda. They've all said about his man management skills. Robinson has said about the death of his ex teammate, obviously in Greece, and he was going on how much Riza had basically gone on side with him and helped him forward. And you contrast that then with effectively Bullet, his man management was to come out and say that Tanner had a weight problem. There's a difference between the two. And I think the players are seeing that. And going on about Winkle as well, saying, no, he hasn't got a place in this team. And you do hear sort of rumblings behind the scenes that the players weren't happy with what was going on. You wondered, did they just down tools in the end? And the contrast has just been massive, isn't it? Seeing them now. Yeah,
absolutely. But you're right. I do feel that one of the things that with Riza is he's obviously on fantastic terms with the players, because they all call him Riz and Riza. Does that change when he becomes manager? And the other thing, it was it's obviously a good quality of his, but players have mentioned how he keeps WhatsApping them or texting them, messaging them. So he's obviously keeping the communication going day and night with those players, and obviously things are good at the moment. I wonder how welcome that would be if things weren't so good. But at the moment, you can't fault anything going on down there, can you?
No.
Richard Davis has come back. We knew he would rather. 5 on the bounce. So we've got Eddie May, 1993, Alan Cork, 2000 to 2001, Lenny Lawrence, 2002 to 2003. So there we go. We're looking over 20 years. Oh, there you go. There's Richard.
Well done, Rich.
There we go.
Brilliant
so,
stuff.
I knew he would.
Top man.
Malky Mackay.
I'm Malky.
I've got visions of Richard at home with a little book going through all this.
Stato.
Very much so.
Okay, so we've got a couple of minutes to go. So should we do the old Steve Johnson tradition? How do we think the next 2 games are going to go? Predictions and all that. Steve Thomas, what are you saying for Luton and Blackburn?
I'm saying 2-2-1 wins and Riza to keep the job, as I did last time I was on after the whole game. So if we get out of it, it'd be great.
Brilliant. Al?
I think we'll win 1-0 on Wednesday night, and I think we'll win 3-0 on Saturday.
Brilliant. Love it. Wiggy, go for it.
I'm gonna go for a score draw tomorrow. I think 1-1, and I think we'll beat Blackburn 2 or 3-1.
I'm leaning towards a draw on Wednesday, but I do think we're going to beat Blackburn. I just think there's something rolling at the moment, isn't there? And if they get a minimum 4 points, we're all going to be happy anyway, aren't we? So, let's just hope that's the way it turns out. So, thank you, boys, for everything tonight. Thanks everyone who's messaged in. Thanks, Stato Richard, for the figures you just sent us. And let's keep happy. Let's keep smiling with the city. If it stays like this for a while longer, we can have the best Christmas for a long time. So yeah, thanks to everyone. Great, Steve and Al, Wiggy. Catch you all again soon, boys.